Turning, looking, see.
It is game one of a 4-game set between the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. On the mound, nasty Nestor Cortes Jr., who is looking for his 4th win of the season. My recap, your reactions, coming up next. This is Yankees Game Night. How's it going, everybody? Before we get started, we lost a good fella today. You hear the Field of Dreams music when this broadcast begins each night. Ray Liotta, rest in peace. He played Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams. We lost him today, 67 years old, gone way too soon. Another night of injury news. Aaron Hicks was scratched from tonight's lineup with hamstring tightness. It's probably for the best, to be honest with you. You never want anybody to get hurt, but if you're going to get somebody out of the lineup with hamstring tightness, why not the guy who is, frankly, playing really bad? Also, the Yankees signed Matt Carpenter before the game. He was actually in the lineup tonight. Great mustache. He looks like Daniel Plainview from There Will Be Blood. Did you guys ever see that movie with Daniel Day-Lewis? I drink your milkshake. I drink it up. Love that movie. Also, Manny Banuelos, former Yankees prospect turned journeyman, was back with the Yankees today in the bullpen. He was great this spring. I figured we would see him at some point. I was hoping that his debut would be a start in pinstripes under the lights and that it would be like an event. That would have been great, but I'll be happy anyway that he has success with the Yankees. Miguel Andujar was once again the left fielder tonight. Mostly for his offense, but he made a really nice catch to take away a hit in the bottom of the first inning. Great job by Andujar. You'll have to excuse me if there's not a lot of detail for innings 2 through 5. Both pitchers settled down and retired 14 consecutive hitters each, I believe. And there was just no offense, and it went really quick. I mean, you look up, and it's what seemed like 15 minutes, and it was already the 5th inning. It was crazy. Top 6. Matt Carpenter got hit by a pitch. He had a couple of really good at-bats tonight. Not only this hit by pitch, but he drew a walk later in the game. And then Marwin Gonzalez finally got the first Yankees hit of the night.
More of that, please.
Next batter was Aaron Judge, and he drilled one up the middle for an RBI single, first run of the game. A couple of batters later, Miguel Andujar ripped one at the shortstop. It was in the hole. I would have called it an error. It got ruled a hit. He did hit it hard. There was an error on the play. Ball was thrown away. A couple of runs scored. That made it 3-0. Top 7, wild pitch scored Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to make it 4-0. And then top 9, Aaron Judge picked up a sac fly to make it 5-0. And then a double by Rizzo broke it open and made it 7-0. 300th career double for Rizzo. That deserves a round of applause. Bottom 9, Nestor allowed a leadoff single, and that was it for him. Runner came around to score, so it was charged to Nestor. But overall, he was phenomenal. Final line, 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Outstanding job for Nestor Cortes Jr. Rays did get 2 in the bottom of the 9th, but the Yankees hang on to win 7-2.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win!
More of that, please.
Just had to update the stats there. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa actually scored 2 runs tonight. I see that the talk in the chat is the mustaches, And so, since we're talking about mustaches, we might as well award the belt to the mustachioed one of the mustachioed two now, Nestor Cortez. Whoops. False start. There we go.
Belt winner.
I got to say, in the battle between the two mustaches, I saw someone ask this while the credits were loading. Credits, the intro, whatever. Nestor stash versus Matt Carpenter stash. And as much as I love Nestor, and as great as Nestor pitched tonight, Carpenter's stash is on a whole nother level. It's fuller. It's thicker. I mean, it's legendary. Long Hard Shepherd says Nestor is the real ace of this staff. He's pitching fantastically well. I think if the playoffs began next week, say, I think the Yankees would still start Garrett Cole in a game one, potentially. But up to this point, I don't think there's any confusion over who's pitched better. Let's go to the box score real quick. Take a look at it. So let's start with the offense. You can see Aaron Judge 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs tonight. Also had a walk. He's still hitting .313 with a OPS over 1,000. Rizzo had a big double in the 9th. Gleyber Torres, tough night, 0 for 5, took the collar. And Duhar, another night, another hit. We'll deal with that. Joey Gallo. I'm also seeing a lot of Joey Gallo stuff in the chat. People still not super happy with Joey Gallo, and I don't blame you. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, 165 average, 590 OPS. I mean, he's just fallen so much as a player. You know, some guys just, are not New York players. And I think Joey Gallo is just putting such insane pressure on himself. And it doesn't help that we're beating him down. But the bright lights, the big city is not for Joey Gallo. I bet if Joey Gallo went to somewhere like Seattle or San Diego, somewhere where it's kind of low key and he can just kind of blend in and not really be questioned every time he strikes out or strikes out 3 times like he did tonight, I think he would play well, and I think he would start to get some of those power numbers back. But it seems like the league has kind of figured him out. And right now, I get the same sensation with Joey Gallo coming to the plate that I got for all those years with, what's his name? Chris Davis for the Orioles. You remember that one year that Chris Davis hit about 150 and struck out pretty much every time? I mean, that's, Rob Smith says it best. He looks helpless. Helpless. Let's take a look at the pitching. Obviously, Cortez, the story of the night. Yarborough was pretty good, too, for the Rays. Just kind of didn't pitch, well enough to beat Cortez, honestly. He was just outstanding. 4th win of the year. That makes a winner out of Nostra Derek tonight. We got oh, yeah. I think that raises the batting average up around, 450 or so. So, all right, let's go back to the main screen here. Morast says, did they trade Hicks? No, Hicks was out of the lineup tonight with some hamstring tightness. I think you would have a real difficult time trading Hicks, even if you wanted to, right? I mean, who's going to trade for that guy? He makes $10 million a year. He gives you very little value. I can't see them being able to move him. I think that if Hicks ends up parting ways with the Yankees, it's going to be kind of the Robinson Cano route, where it's a designated for assignment situation, ends up getting released and maybe signs on somewhere else. But I don't think that anybody would want him. Peter Ty says, when did hitting below the Mendoza line become acceptable? Probably in the last 10 years, honestly. For a long time, if you hit 220 in the major leagues, teams didn't want you. But now they'll put up with a really low batting average if you've got the power. Only problem is Joey Gallo's not hitting for power anymore either. He's just not putting up the numbers. So they got to figure out something with Joey Gallo. Let's see here. John Doe says, Cashman needs to acquire more mustaches ASAP. I like that. Wiffle Ball says, Yankees got Shane Green. Yeah, Shane Green, former Yankee, went to the Tigers for a while. He was signed before the game. He is going to Scranton. So welcome back, Shane Green. James G says, it's amazing that Nestor can just cycle through the lineup 3 or 4 times, and they can't do a thing about it. Look, it's kind of like Mariano Rivera's cutter. You know it's coming, but you still can't do anything about it. Now, Mariano Mariano threw his a lot harder, and that's kind of how he made his name. But near the end of his career, he didn't throw it as hard as he did in the early part of his career, but he located it very well. And that's something that Nestor Cortes is doing. He's locating it. He's able to throw it as a backdoor pitch to righties for strikes, and then he can come in on their hands. And then if you get him looking for it, he throws just hard enough that he can sneak a fastball by you or spot it on the outside corner, drop down. He plays with your timing. He's just a mess up there. Mike D says Nestor is the Yanks MVP up to this point. I think between him and Judge, it's like co-MVPs, right? Let's see here. Rayrard says, seriously, don't even low average players go through hot streaks? What's with Gallo? Honestly, I think he's just going through that kind of Chris Davis phase where the league has figured out that if you throw it in like a certain region, he crushes it. And if you just throw it above his hands, he can't get to it. And if you throw something that's fading low and away, he swings and misses and pulls off every time. It's a mess, and not in a good way like Nasty Nestor. Matt F says, Nasty Nestor, goodbye Tampa, bring on Trout and Ohtani. We still got 3 more with Tampa. Let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Let's see here. Mike D says, hope he can contend for the Cy Young this year. Right now, you have to go with Justin Verlander. But you never know. Justin Verlander's coming back from an injury. And Nasty Nestor's never pitched more than... He's never thrown close to 200 innings in a season, which is what you're going to need to throw roughly to get yourself into Cy Young contention. You got to be at least at like 180. Let's see here. Ryan Tuhey says, they ought to just DFA Hicks. Red Sox did that to Hanley Ramirez in 2018. Reds with Cano this year.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Agree, but right now you have nobody else. They should have addressed center field during the offseason when they said they would. They decided to let Hicks roll with it, and you never know. Maybe he turns it around. But I'm starting to think that, he's looking at the weather. He's seeing that the golf links are starting to, be really playable, and it's time for a little hamstring pull, little vacation. Heyo.
Excellent.
All right. So Alec Kessler sums up this stream so far. Nestor good, Hicks bad. That's pretty much what it's been so far. Joe Bag talking about Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn actually had several years where he had 40 home runs in a row. Gallo, I think, has had 40 at least once or twice, but I don't see him getting there this year. The power just isn't there because the contact isn't there. You have to be able to make more contact in order to have power. Arman Acharya says, Andrew Benintendi or Juan Soto, thoughts, Derek. So if you can get Benintendi cheap, I think that's the way Cashman would go because he doesn't want to get rid of the farm. And Benintendi, honestly, would be perfect for you this summer. He hits for contact. He's reliable out there. But I also don't want to sell Andujar short. Andujar looked pretty good out there in left field. And I would keep running him out there for a while. I don't care that he's not lefty because he hits both righties and lefties. And that was a nice play that he made. And it seems like whenever he's in there, he hits the ball hard at least once or twice a day. As for Soto, look, we like to dream on Soto. And, we're hearing all sorts of rumors about Dominguez and, about how the Nationals are going to probably need to trade Soto this year in order to maximize their value for him. We're hearing lots of rumors, but there's always rumors. And a lot of times there's nothing to them. But I think that Soto will get traded. I don't know if Cashman has the cojones to empty the farm for one player. He's been holding on to all these chips for so many years. What I would do if I were Cashman, I would approach the Nationals about Soto and say, hey, look, we have These are the prospects we really believe in. One or two guys. Pick two of your top 10, maybe Volpe and Dominguez. Let's say we really want to hold on to these guys. These are our guys. But you can take any 5 or 6 other minor leaguers, and we'll take back the contract of Steven Strasburg, over $100+ million. We'll take it back. Even if Strasburg isn't the pitcher that he once was, it's worth it to pay that money to have Soto. And that's something that not a lot of other teams can do. So that might be a direction that the Yankees have an advantage. But, the Dodgers could do that. The Mets could do that. So it's going to come down to, who's willing to take another financial chunk off of the books for the Nationals so that they can begin their rebuild immediately and also give them the players necessary to begin that rebuild. I think that, they would want one of our top shortstops, probably either Volpe or Peraza, maybe Trey Sweeney, but Sweeney probably not. He's a little bit further down in the system. Roderick Arias is somebody they might ask about. He was the number 1 signee out of the international pool this year. He's a switch hitter. He's been compared to Wander Franco, but he's young, so he's a ways away. But the Yankees could say, hey, look, take the number 1 international pick, take 3 or 4 of our top 10 prospects. You have a Medina, have a Wisniewski, have a Oswald Peraza. You hate to do it, but you dangle even like an Austin Wells in there, somebody who's really performing well this year, and you take back a big contract and see where you're at. That's probably still not enough to get it done, but just see where you're at. Maybe the Yankees' depth in the minors is enough that you can give them a humongous amount of players and make up for, not giving them your top 2 or 3 guys. I don't know. I still think it's going to cost you an arm and a leg and a big contract. So I feel like that was a big denouement. But ultimately, if I had to pull the trigger, I would try for Soto. I would keep Benintendi. I would keep an eye on him. And in the meantime, until you get either one of those guys, I would play Andujar every day in left field. Ashlyn says, who pitches tomorrow? Jamison Tyone. That is correct. And Tyone's been really good this year. Tyone has been very solid. Loving what I'm seeing from him. Fritz Walter doesn't think Soto is realistic. I mean, we're only saying that because he's so good, right? Realistically, how many teams can honestly trade for a Juan Soto? And look, the Yankees are 32-13 now. They got the best record in Major League Baseball. They have a wide open window to go for home field advantage this year. And if you get home field advantage, you got Juan Soto, who carried the Nationals in the 2019 playoffs to the World Series. Gar says, Andujar, Judge, Soto, what an outfield. Can you imagine? And then you can rotate. You can give Judge days at DH. You can play Stanton in right field once in a while. You can play Soto in left field if you need to, and DH Andujar if you got a team that hits a lot of balls to left field. It gives you not only a great young player. I mean, Soto's younger than Andujar. Soto would be the youngest player on the Yankees. It gives you not only an unbelievable lineup, but it gives you flexibility and youth. Unbelievable. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, watch out, because the Yankees will go all the way with that team. And if they don't, it would be an embarrassment. But, I mean, just imagine trying to work your way through DJ, Judge, Soto, Stanton, Rizzo, Donaldson, and now IKF, Andujar. Contact guys up and down the lineup. Can you imagine? Edwin Ng says, we got a tie. Both Gallo and Hicks are the worst. Brett Deutsch says, I think Judge needs to be the full-time center fielder and Andujar in left and can rotate Stanton and whoever in right field. Hey, that's a valid opinion. I think that Judge looks pretty good out there in center field. And if you got Soto, who is a natural right fielder, that might be what the Yankees elect to do. You have to figure, Judge is a free agent at the end of the year, right? Ride that horse till she bucks you, baby. If you don't think that, he's going to re-sign and he's good enough to play center field, just play him and play him every day and ride him out and try and win a World Series. It's worth it. It's worth it. And it'll be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. And ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's all about entertainment. Let's see here. Michael Joyner says, Nestor, you the man. Andy Yang says, let's give Ender Inciarte a shot. Ender Inciarte is a fantastic outfielder, and I think he's hitting pretty well in AAA. But I don't think he's on the 40-man roster. I could be wrong on that, but to get him on the 40-man roster, you would have to basically lose a player. Let's see here. We got a super chat from Mr. I don't even know. I can't even pronounce that. Mr. Sess Home Run XX says, play Andujar over Gallo and Hicks, please. Thanks. Wholeheartedly agree. Fritz Walter says, if Cashman re-signs Gallo and we have him and Hicks both long-term, it's time for... we don't want to joke about that. I'm sorry. I should have read that better before I put that up. Edwin NG says, Carpenter is a professional hitter. Yeah, he works good at bats. He takes close pitches. I saw that there was that inside slider that he took one off the elbow, and it looked like he was not trying to get hit, but not trying to get out of the way either, which is something that, as a veteran, that's something you would typically see from a good veteran hitter. They know it's more important to get on base than to, not get a bruise. I think we should expect LeCastro back pretty soon. AK-12. He had a lat injury. Typically, they're like 4 to 6 weeks. I would think at some point in late June we'll get him back. A few weeks. But again, he's not somebody you play every day. I think they need to stick to using him as a weapon off the bench. He can get you a couple of runs a week just by stealing second and third if you use him correctly. Luke WS, you're not wrong, says the Soto speculation feels like the Freeman speculation over the offseason. But, for some of the younger people who maybe have only been watching the Yankees for 10 or 15 years, in 2004, I woke up one February and A-Rod was a Yankee. And since that day, I don't doubt them getting anybody because anything is possible with this team. And you have to argue that the A-Rod trade worked out. I mean, he won a World Series here. He did what the Yankees want. He filled seats. I think they sold 4 million tickets in 2004. So they just didn't have enough pitching. This year, they have the pitching. You have two legitimate aces in Cole and Nestor Cortez. And you've got a legitimate number 2 in Luis Severino, who at times can pitch like an ace. And then Tyone is also pitching like a number 2. So, and Jordan Montgomery, he doesn't get any wins, doesn't get a lot of run support, but he's pitching pretty well. His ERA is hanging in there around 3. So I could see a scenario where the Yankees go for it and try and upgrade their offense. All right, guys, we're going to call it. We got the luxury of an early night tonight. So one more time, Mr. John Sterling.
Ball game.
Oops.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
More of that, please.
See you guys tomorrow. We go for 2 in a row.